Chapter 8 Valentine's Day. Sitting at her desk in her bedroom with a pen in her hand, she was staring at her notepad with a blank page. She seemed to be in a deep thought when someone knocked at the door. She quickly scribbled something on the page and closed the notebook. She slowly walked to the door and opened it. She seemed weak. She looked tired and her eyes dull, as if she had not slept for ages or she had been crying. But he did not seem to notice it. Rather, he appeared too excited. "Hey, happy Valentine's Day," he said, standing at the door. She just nodded. "Today is a big day. Are you thrilled?" he asked in all excitement. She nodded again. "What? You just keep nodding? I don't know how come all the words came out when you write and vanish when you talk," he grinned. She did not respond. He continued to say something, but he did not even seem to hear him. Her thoughts were somewhere else. It was indeed a big day for her, but deep within her heart, she was emotional and couldn't get off that feeling of misery and helplessness. Numerous thoughts were boggling her mind. Incidents from the past bothered her. She did not want to go to that event, meet her readers, interact with them, and act like everything was normal, because everything was not normal. All she wanted was to lock herself in and cry. "It is time for us to get ready and leave," he said, which broke her train of thoughts. "Just give me 10 minutes," she said in a soft voice, and she was about to close the door when he stopped the door with his hand and slowly whispered to her, "I love you." She was silent. He had proposed to her the day before for the first time. He had found her silent then as well. She knew her answer for that, but she did not want to break his heart just before the event. It was a big day for him too. He made all the arrangements in full swing. He was already dressed in an expensive looking tuxedo and seemed to glow with excitement. She did not want to upset him. She turned back without an answer. Seeing that she did not say it back, he seemed disappointed for a moment, but put on a cheerful smile and said, "We'll wait for you downstairs. Come soon." Promptly, within the next 10 minutes, she came down dressed in a glittering green gown, her hair floating freely in the air. Though she had put on some makeup, even without that she would have been the prettiest. She walked down. He could not take his eyes off her. All he wanted was to lift her off the ground in his arms and kiss her and tell her how much he loved her. He just stood there looking at her. "Shall we leave?" she asked. He held her hand to walk together. She just smiled at him and walked past him. He looked down and shook in disappointment. He could get a feel that she did not love him and that something was bothering her, but he could not just walk away from her at all. They both got into the car and traveled in silence. Within a few minutes, they reached the mall, the place of the event. Tears welled up her eyes as she reached there, but she fought them back and got out of the car. There were about thousands of people who waited for her there, to catch a glimpse of her, to wave at her, to shake her hands, and to take selfies. There were bouncers and security guards controlling the crowd. She looked at the crowd and felt baffled. She did not even know what she had done to earn so much love. All she did was to pour her thoughts into pages and sell them as a book. And people loved her for that? She could not believe. There was an epitome of unconditional love, and she was grateful for that. All that love was the only thing she kept her going despite what she had gone through. Her eyes desperately searched in the crowd for someone. She looked in all the directions. She could not see many faces, but not the one which she was looking for. She lost heart, yet she tried to mask her disappointment on her face. The paparazzi were there too, waiting for their cameras and microphones, trying to click few pictures of her and also probe her with some questions. He was near her, trying to stick with her and get her into the mall carefully amidst the crowd. "Is that your date?" some media guy from the crowd asked her. She looked at her, hoping he could have his reply at least then. She just shook her head in response. "Do you love someone?" Another guy said. "I love Sacharam Afishnaram," she said. "But that's the name of your book, isn't it?" Another asked. She looked at the reporter for a moment, not knowing what to say. He then quickly came near her, held her hand, and swiftly walked her inside the mall. She looked at him. This guy has been with her for almost a year now. He was Samuel, her publisher. She knew that she had to admit it in front of him, though it might hurt him. But without saying it to him, she understood that she was hurting him more. "I'm sorry, Sam, but I don't love you. I love Sacharam Afishnaram," she said, gathering all the courage. "You keep saying that, love, but where is he? Does he even exist?" he asked. She knew that he did, but where was he was the biggest question of her life. She remembered that day exactly a year before. It was day 8 of her perfect Valentine's week. That was the day of her first public appearance. The day she had to get out in public and reveal who she was. She was very nervous about it, but he, Sacharam, was near her, comforting her and giving her the courage which she needed the most. They were in her car on the way to the event when he said to her, "Just go with the flow. Just imagine as if you're writing. How you would pour out all your feelings like that, pour your heart out. Just by your words, you've made the connection with so many people. Now that they're going to see you and know more about you, they will love you more. I know you worry about your past, how it had been tainted by the media. But trust me, all that will change once they get to know you. I promise you," he said. She believed his words. People had gathered in huge numbers in front of the mall. She had a lump in her throat seeing such a huge crowd. "Just go for it," he said with an assuring smile. She asked him to come along with her too. "This is your event. Enjoy it. I'll be in the crowd as a fan, cheering and supporting you. After that, we'll have our own celebrations." He winked. He wanted to kiss him, but right then, someone had opened her car door, so she had to get down. All her fans were excited to see her for the first time. She could see how much they had loved her. Of course, a few people questioned her past and her image as a daughter, her father, and now she was enjoying his wealth. But there were very few. All that bitterness was like a pinch of salt mixed in a river. She was glad that he had pushed her to face the reality, for she realized that it was the best thing after him that had happened to her. She addressed the crowd and answered all the questions. She did not even know that she could talk so well in public. She enjoyed all the love showered by her fans. She never knew she would like all this attention, but she did. She could see him standing in the crowd and cheering her. She could see how proud he was. After the event, she wanted to rush to him and hug him and thank you all for what he had done. But she was surrounded by the huge crowd and she could not reach him. He signaled her to just enjoy the moment and meet him later. She knew that he had a special date planned for her that night and she was even more excited about it. She nodded and smiled at him. After she got back home, she called on his number and it was not reachable. She waited for him to call back, but he did not. He tried his number several times. It seemed not reachable for some time, and after a few hours, she got a response that the phone was switched off. She was getting more and more worried with every passing minute. She had no idea where he would be. She wanted to go to his place and find him, but only then she realized that all in those 8 days, she never got to know much about him. Nothing about where he stayed or worked. All she knew was his name and that he was a botanist who grew up in a foster home and loved to read books. She was mad at herself for being so unaware. How could she be so focused on herself that she did not even care to know much about him? She did not know how she could trace him. She kept dialing his number, but it was dead. She rushed to Triabuma Cafe, his favorite spot, where they had their first date, and hoped to find him there. But no, he was not there. She inquired about him. They knew him as S and said that they had last seen him with her on proposed day. She went to Smile's small bookshop. The old lady did not know much about him either and did not remember seeing him recently. All she knew was his name was Yes. She even visited Teddy Boy and desperately searched for him, but she had no luck. She went mad searching for him all over. She did not know what to do or how to find him. She wanted to cry, but she did not want to waste her precious time crying. All she wanted was to find him somehow. She did not have a picture of him. She was not a camera person, rather. She never wanted anyone to take her picture, and neither did he ask for any photos. They did not even take a selfie together. She even searched his Instagram page, but she could not find any information there as well. She saw the messages which they had exchanged, which was the start of everything between them. She could not control her tears. She had cried her heart out. She wished that it would turn out to be a prank he had played, and would just appear in front of her, but nothing happened. She kept trying his number, hoping he would answer. All it said was that it was switched off. She did not know how or when she slept off. It was about 4 in the morning when she woke up, feeling all tired and weak. She tried his number again and it answered the same. She threw her phone in frustration, and that's when her phone rang all of a sudden. She quickly got up from her bed and frantically rushed to pick the phone. It was from an unknown number. "Hello?" the voice said. Instantly, she knew that it was not him. "I'm Sam. We met yesterday. I need to discuss your next book," he said. She just hung up. She did not want to talk to anyone else. All she wanted was to find him some way or the other. She wanted to check their hangout spots again, but by morning every newspaper had news about the prodigal daughter, who was the famous anonymous writer. Her face was in every media and she had become popular overnight. So people could identify her everywhere and gather around. She understood that it would be even more difficult to find him. Right at that moment, her phone bell rang again. She picked up the call. "Hi, I'm Sam again. I'm a publisher. I would like to discuss with your book deal," he started. "Sam, you can have the book deal, but I need your help," she said. She did not even know why she wanted to ask him for help, but somehow she did not. Soon they met at her place and she shared about whatever she knew about Sacharam and asked him for his help to find out. He assured her that he would do his best. With Sam's help, she registered a police complaint to find him out. Using his money and resources, Sam even tried to search for official records of Sacharam or Vishnaram, but as per government records, no one by the name even existed. All she knew about him was his name, but when it turned out that even that was not correct, she did not know how to even react. They even tried to trace him through his mobile number, but nothing came out of it. Sam tried his best to help her out, initially out of pity, but later out of love for her. Yeah, he fell in love with her. He tried to reason with her that he had perhaps just left her, or something had perhaps happened to him, or maybe he had died. But she could not accept any of that. She just hoped that somehow he would come back. She did not know where he was, but he was in her mind, in her memories, in her life, in every breath, and even after death. He had said that he saw God in her, but in actual, he was her God who had changed her life. He gave her redemption from her past life. That one week's memory with him was what she had cherished the most, the memories of which would last forever with her. She grieved every day and tried to find him, but in vain. All she could do was write their story, just as how she had promised him on their kiss day date. And that was the book that was getting released that day. She titled the book Sacharam Aveshnaram. She knew that she could never love anyone else, for still loved him. She always believed that he could one day get back in her life again, and just wanted to wait for it with all hopes, counting every hour, every day. Day 373. She scribbled in her diary that day in the morning, 8 beautiful days with him, plus 365 lonely days without him. She had been counting. Valentine's Day, far away. He was there, gazing at the stars through the window. Everything around him looked so peaceful, calm, and reposed, but he was not. He was far away from home, far away from her, but only by distance. His mind was filled with her thoughts, and his heart was filled with love for her. Though it has almost been a year since he had gotten away from her, there was not even a single day or minute, second that had passed without thinking about her. He had made a pencil sketch for her, and it lied on his desk. He did not know when he would return back to her. Though her memories were etched deep in his heart, he feared forgetting her face, and that was the reason why he had sketched her as well. This was all he had of her. He kissed it. He let out a sigh and continued to look at the stars again. Life never went the way he had planned, and that was the reason why he had never planned any of it. He also knew that life was short, and that's why he never worried about it either. He lived life as it came by. Life was an adventure for him, and he just did what he wanted. He never had any deep relationship with anyone. and never desired to have anyone in her life permanently. But things changed after he had met her. What at first was just a date has gone to become a crush and had soon become love, pure love. He had never ever thought that someone could become this whole world within just a week after meeting. Soon he realized that he was the happiest when he had her beside him, and somehow making her happy had become his goal. He had always wanted to reveal to her his real name, his true identity, and what he did for a living. He had finally thought he would share it with her on the Valentine's Day itself after proposing to her. As it was, life never went as he planned. On the Valentine's Day, he was asked to immediately leave for his mission and report to ISS, the International Space Station. He was an astrobotanist. He studied about growing plants in outer space environment. Just weeks before meeting her, he had signed up for this mission, a mission that many did not want to take up as no one knew when it would end and if at all they would come back to the Earth. The purpose of the mission was to find a hospitable environment in any planet where they would attempt to grow plants. He had happily signed up for it as he had nothing on the Earth to hold on to. He was ready to roam around in space with no commitments and fear in life, but it had all happened after he had fallen in love with her. He was then reluctant to join a mission he had been ineffably excited about before, but he also knew he had had no choice there. He was all excited for his Valentine's Day with love, and when he had to order to join the mission for the first time in his life, he had not known what to do or how to break the news to her. He knew he could not cancel the mission as he had been training for this for years and also knew he could not leave her. He had been the reason for her happiness and he had no desires to be the reason behind her tears. He had felt the most painful and miserable. He had decided to share this news with her after the incident next day and bid farewell to her, but seeing her there amongst the fans, enjoying their love and feeling happy, he had wished not to take all that happiness away from her. He had entered her life without a trace and decided to leave without a trace as well. He had known that she would never be able to find him and thought that she would eventually forget him as well. Deep within though, he had known she would never. He continued to gaze at the stars from the ISS, hoping to reach love, his only love, as soon as possible. The end.